Hello and welcome back to Cinematic Universe, everyone. My name is Ernesto Martinez. Joining me, as always, is Damon Hawk as we continue to review Supergirl on CBS. How are you, man?
I'm good.
All right, well, it's about time that we review that episode that we weren't able to see last week because CBS wanted to save face and not look like the bad guy. Instead of airing this episode, they aired Livewire. No, the reason why they didn't show this episode is because part of the plot of this new chapter in the series is that there seems to be a series of bombs blowing up in National City, and Supergirl has to, hit every single one of them and stop them from exploding or saving people from them. And with the events that took place in Paris over the month, well, half of it you can see the argument for pulling the episode, and the other half is like, why bother? So, let's start this off. Damon, what do you think of this episode? How does she do it? That's what it's called.
I thought it was, it was good. It didn't really move the plot along too terribly much. I like that we got to see Maxwell Lord. We got to kind of feel him out a little bit more. That was one of the things that I liked. I like what Peter Facinelli's doing with the character. What I think he's doing with the character. So far, he seems, like a good foil for Supergirl, a possible Lex Luthor to, Supergirl's hero.
Oh, he's totally being a Lex Luthor to her. He's
Yeah.
totally being Lex Luthor. I mean, if you go back to the Superman comics, the Jeff Johns Secret Origins, you have Lex Luthor, whose entire, the whole thing about him is that he wants to, improve the city, improve the world, and everybody looks up to him as like the shining boy of the city. Then here comes this near invincible superhero and starts getting all the attention, and well, Maxwell Lord, he's gonna play the Lex Luthor role,
Yeah.
and it's already there etched in his face, even from the first time we got to see him in the TV screen about when he said, National City doesn't need another, superhero. We don't need that trouble. And by that point, Supergirl kind of like poisoned the entire water shore with oil, but that wasn't her fault. So not only does Supergirl have to stop bombs or the person who's putting the bombs all around the city, but she also has to babysit Cat Grant's 13-year-old son, or was he 12?
Something like that. He's, a kid.
He's a kid who apparently has never had a conversation with a girl in his life, and he has a crush on Supergirl. Not just any crush, but I think this kid had his first sexual awakening with Supergirl. I mean, just from the moment that he talks about her, it's like, yeah, I can relate to this kid because around that time, the hormones were going crazy, and beautiful women were almost a rarity, or kind of like that kind of species that you didn't even know how to act around of. And I can totally buy into how this kid is reacting, even though he comes off a little like, okay, kid, settle down. Then again, when you put him next to Winn Scott, it's like, oh boy, the two men after her heart. Well, three if you consider James Olsen, but in this case, he's already got his problems because he has to deal with Lucy Lane coming back into his life, which had kind of an okay drama between James Olsen always putting Superman above his relationship, and then after a while, Lucy Lane put her career above her relationship with James Olsen. So it was kind of a good little drama, but as Elijah stated fairly accurately in our group, what point is there to watch it when we already know those two are going to get back together and stay together? Yeah, because we saw Livewire and they were having a Thanksgiving getaway.
Yeah, if you're watching solely for the purpose of, to find out who's boning who or what happened to make these two bone or why these two weren't boning, then then I would agree that there was no reason to watch this episode. But there was some fairly decent character stuff going on, and we got to see some good stuff with Cat Grant. How she relates to her child, and I thought that was probably some of the most engaging stuff in the episode. So good for them. Yeah. I find it interesting that the things that I end up liking so much about the show are those little character moments that we get. Not so much. I mean, when Supergirl's out flying around, all I can think is they really don't know what to do with her hair. I mean, she's flying at blinding speeds, and her hair is just kind of doing this floof kind of thing, rather than being blown right the fuck back off of her face, which I have to imagine is what would happen. Her hair would be going straight back, not lazy afternoon wind blowing.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
It drives me crazy. It looks really nice. She looks great. She's got the supermodel fan blowing on her from a distance, rather than the G-force wind whipping the shit right off of her head.
Especially when she's trying to chase down that drone at the beginning of the episode. It's like she's trying to break her own speed, and that hair has not changed directions at all.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool to see Supergirl flying around, so you forgive a little bit of that.
And it kind of gets very cheesy, almost like almost serial. And when I say serial, I mean like the old Superman serial cartoons.
Yeah.
It almost get a little bit serial cartoonish when Supergirl goes to Lord Industries and her sister and Maxwell ask her to take the bomb because it's gonna blow up soon. The way they delivered that line felt like an early 1950s Superman serial cartoon. Superman, the bomb is going to blow up any minute. You have to take it out of the city now, or millions of people will die. Don't worry, citizens, I'll do it. That's what it felt like. And if it was intentional, that's great, but it didn't. It kind of came off a little like, come on, there was no other way to deliver that. And then a little negative, but she's trying to fly away from the city as fast as she can to take the bomb away from people's harm's way. And it never thought to cross her mind to fly up until Henshaw tells her, fly up.
Well, yeah, and then the explosion, I mean, it's going to be way too destructive, and it didn't really look that destructive.
No, it's like, you can get up from that, and she was knocked out cold.
Yeah, I don't know. And they talk about, you've never fallen from such a height. Well, if she hadn't flown fucking straight up in the air, she wouldn't have fallen from such a height.
Yeah, and
Christ ass, man. I was just like, come on,
Yeah, and where did she fall into the ocean?
Yeah.
Because I don't think she fell into the ground, because if she fell to the ground, I mean, alright, she'll be fine.
Yeah, she was already over the water. So, I mean, the only reason for her to fly straight up was so she could fall straight down and go unconscious.
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen.
Yeah. But I really want to talk about just a couple minor things. I mean, the rest of the episode is what it is. Well, let's talk about two things. Number one, Hank Henshaw actually reveals that he is not who he says he is, or maybe he is who he says he is, but he's starting to reveal more and more that he's no ordinary person, that there's more to him than meets the eye. And the way he goes about it, I mean, let's debate this for a second. If you were Cyborg Superman, and your entire existence is to, take your vengeance out of the Kryptonian, or any negative foil against a Kryptonian, would you go out of your way to save people just to maintain your cover?
It depends. If there is a larger agenda that he's trying to take care of, then, I mean, much the way, I mean, they've kind of gotten into the habit, and by they, I mean Berlanti and Kreisberg and all these guys, they've gotten into a habit of having a mentor character that builds them up while simultaneously looking for ways to tear them down. So
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, they'd have to speak to that themselves, but
No, because if he is Cyborg Superman, as so far we're speculating he is, because we know who Hank Henshaw is. We've talked
Right.
about it in the first few episodes. We know that Hank Henshaw leads to Cyborg Superman, or maybe he already is Cyborg Superman. But we've also speculated the rumor that he might be Martian Manhunter.
right, which I'd really like to be the case.
And so far, it's leading to Martian Manhunter, especially after this episode. It's just the way he executed the sequence. It's kind of like, okay, I'm not thinking about Cyborg Superman anymore. I'm thinking about John Jones at this point.
Right.
Yeah. And, it's, a different character's name, Hank Henshaw and Martian Manhunter. But for all we know, maybe the real Hank Henshaw died a few years ago, and John Jones took over his name and part of the DEO. But then that springs up a whole new bevy of questions that will have
True.
that will have to be answered as the season goes, and hopefully they're answered because, I know I said that Berlanti and Kreisberg are known for taking a character and steering away from what makes that character by its origins, but still stay true to that character's spirit and soul. But so far, I'm kind of at a loss for words here because I'm just like, I can't tell anymore who this guy is. I know he's Hank Henshaw. I know he's supposed to be Cyborg Superman. I just don't know anymore. It's all over the place. And the last thing, Maxwell Lord. He orchestrated everything because he wanted to test Supergirl's abilities in the same way that Lex Luthor would do to test Superman's ability and try to find out what makes him tick. How fast can he go? How fast can he stop this? How strong can he be? With Supergirl, how fast can you actually achieve, or how is your growing speed? Or I want to gauge what your set strength is. All that stuff done by Maxwell Lord. And when Supergirl jumps into his office and he's having a drink and they're both debating about, because this is my city and all that stuff, which, by the way, I'm kind of getting tired of hearing people talk about the city in a sentence. I think Kreisberg and Berlanti have a thing with, this city needs me. It was very reminiscent of the Superman animated series where Lex Luthor and Superman meet for the first time in his office, and he tells him, don't worry about finding your robots. I already destroyed them months ago. And then Lex Luthor gives him an ultimatum, and Superman just says, and I'll be there to stop you all the way. And then he flies off. So it was kind of, a nice little touch there. I don't know if you picked up on that reference.
I didn't pick up on a specific reference, but, I mean, the whole thing screams Luthor, so.
Yeah. But, it's those little, like you said, it's those tiny character moments that at least, we can appreciate from these episodes moving forward. But yeah, I like that Maxwell Lord is being the Lex Luthor to Supergirl. Supergirl, she's learning that she can't do everything at once, but it kind of shows how she prioritizes. And you know what? I would have loved to see if Cat Grant's son was not on that train. I would have loved to see how she would have pulled off going from two different places at once. And that also shows that she can't save everyone, even the people who don't want to be saved.
True.
I mean, clearly the guy was manipulated to, self-destruct, but at the same time it shows that, well, you have a no-win situation here, Supergirl. What are you going to do? And she did the one thing, it's like the lives of the few outweigh the lives of the many.
Yeah.
And that's Supergirl. How does she do it? I mean, there's really not much more we can talk about this episode. Part of it, we already telegraphed it from what happens in Livewire, and the other half as well, supplemental information.
True.
Next week, I think the episode is called Red Faced, so that can only mean Red Tornado.
Yeah. The promo for the next episode showed Red Tornado and what looks to be a Thomas Oscar Morrow who is working as a consultant for
DEO.
the army or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean it might have been DEO, but I mean it was definitely some militaristic branch.
Okay. I just want to hear somebody call him T.O. Morrow.
Oh, I don't know if that's who he looked like. He looked like the stock T.O. Morrow character. So I'm hoping. My fingers are crossed.
Oh no, yeah, but if it is him, I just want somebody to actually call him T.O. Morrow.
Yeah.
And then have somebody in the background. Why are you separating the word? It's tomorrow, or something like that. And the reason why I say that is because the first time during my upbringings with DC Comics, when I first heard of T.O. Morrow and everything, I'm just like, why don't they just call him Dr. Tomorrow? I mean, why not? I mean, it's comic books. We have orangutans riding a jet packet with a machine gun. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. This was Supergirl, episode 5. How does she do it? Tune in next time as we reviewed Red Face. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.